old. I'm at a picnic, and it was at a school that I used to go to, a 3-room schoolhouse, literally. I did go to that school in Roaston, New York. And there was a band, and it was the first time I ever saw live musicians playing. And I would notice that the drummer was using a pedal for the bass drum. That was fascinating to me. Because I knew where the sound, even at 4 years old, I knew where the sound was coming from. I knew that bass. I heard that bass drum. But I never knew how they were doing it. And when I saw the contraption of a bass drum pedal, that was it. I was hooked.
My family, they're all musicians. Dad was a bassist, my sister's a pianist, trumpet for my brother. They needed a drummer. So my dad bought me a drum set. I must have been maybe 5 or 6. I didn't even know what sticks were. They gave me brushes.
Because I was going back and listening to tapes of my mom and dad recording me, and I was about 5 years old when I was singing and playing. I was playing church hymns and like Elvis Presley songs and gospel songs, and I was just listening back last week, and the tape said 5 and 6 years old. So I mean, I was kind of born with, you know, a guitar in my hand and singing and playing. I've been doing it all my life, you know. So I kind of, it's part of my, it's my chemical makeup, you know. It's what I love to do.
There were other instruments I was interested in. Piano was a great instrument as well. Dabbled in saxophone a little bit, but the drums, it just had a heartbeat, I guess, to it that I really enjoyed.
They're a physical, alive instrument that are grounded and foundational, and I think that they really, there's power in that, there's strength in that. I think that drew me to drums.
I first met Dave Kennedy in the 90s. They had asked me to play the Leprechaun Inn off 9W, Newburgh, New York. I played with him a couple times before, but this was really the first gig in Leprechaun Inn. Whoa, man, here we go. So I pull up, I go into the bar, and we have Tony Curcio on drums, Dave Kennedy on lead vocals and guitar, and this guy, Johnny Buck. I'm like, who's this guy, Johnny Buck? I said, okay. So I bring my guitar in, set up my amp, we're good to go. Next thing you know, I'm going like this on the guitar, you know. And I'm tuning my guitar. And we're just seconds before we're getting up to play. Mr. Buck turns around. He goes, he gets on the mic. And there's people, there's a whole audience out there. And we're just getting up to play. And Mr. Buck turns around and goes, excuse me. Excuse me. And I'm like, talking to me? He goes, yeah, I'm talking to you. Who the hell you think I'm talking to? I said, what's the problem? He goes, keep your practice at home.
Wow.
Well, you know, I was a little bit unhappy with that. And I turned around and I said, you want me to keep my practice at home? no problem. I brought one amp, my microphone stand, my guitar, my chords, my pedal. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. I walk out, I get in my Buick, and in the 1980 Buick, I pack my stuff up, and all I see, I nailed it in the parking lot. It was all gravel, and all I see is dust behind me, and I see this guy in this hat, Dave Kennedy, right? This USA hat. He's, Mad Dog, no. And I left. I felt so bad. I got down by DeCarlo's Lounge over there, and I said, I can't do it. I just can't do it to Dave. You know, he's really a good guy. And I said, let me go back. And I went back. I ended up playing the whole gig.
I don't know if it was a moment of epiphany or not, but I'm told that when I was a toddler, my grandfather used to march me around his family room to drum and bugle corps stuff just to tire me out so I'd go to sleep if I was staying out at their place. And then years later, we'd go to their house to swim at their pool, and the neighbor next door had a band, and we could hear them. They'd play in the garage. Band was called Pressure Point. And, at that point, and then fourth grade, they'd let you pick an instrument. And, at that point, I knew it was going to be drums.
My earliest influences, Gene Krupa. When I saw the Gene Krupa story on TV, Sal Mineo, that was it for me. I got to play one time for Gene Krupa. Gene Krupa used to endorse Slingerland drums. And there was a store called Sal's Music. And Gene Krupa was endorsing Slingerland drums. I was 9. I was not a good drummer, but I had a lot of energy, full of piss and vinegar, as my mom would say. And I got up and I played for him. And I remember they put a little thing in the paper that said some young kid got up and, played. And Gene Krupa said to me, "Save the home run for the end." And that always stuck with me. So I'm not a solo drummer. I never was. I never liked being a solo drummer. And I like being in the pocket. And that's always worked for me.
I like to look at the drummer if I can,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta lock up.
Yep. Yep.
I can't push him. I gotta sync right up with that guy because you just don't look cool if you don't.
So you're 6 years old. You go home.
Yeah.
What do you tell your folks?
Oh, I say, I want a keyboard for my birthday. Except I didn't get one. I got some other thing you'd give a 6-year-old boy.
Right.
And I said, guys, I appreciate this gift, but what I really wanted was a keyboard.
Really?
Yeah. And so at the time, we went over to the Poughkeepsie Galleria, which was brand new. Mm-hmm. A store called Leechmere. I don't think it's even there anymore.
Leechmere, yeah.
And I brought my first Casio. Well, they bought it for me. My first Casio keyboard.
My first influence was a guy named Ronnie Verrell. And the reason why I say Ronnie Verrell is because he was the drummer behind Animal and the Muppets. And that's where I get my image of a drummer from. Animal, from the Muppets, and Tommy Lee.
My father's a drummer, so it was always predestined. My hopes for the future of music is that people keep playing, the clubs keep booking the bands, people keep going out and supporting live music because it's the last pure entertainment that they have.
My name is Phil Segoner. I've owned the Town Crier since November of 1972, when I started on Beekman Road in an old Stagecoach general store. I was actually on my way to Austin, Texas to open this club. On or about my departure, a friend of mine, a local artist in Brooklyn, asked me to deliver a piece of art to Beekman Road, to a location that a mutual friend of ours purchased just for storage in the barn. And one thing led to another, and I had an invitation to try to move up there and try something. I decided to give it 3 months, and when I look back, it was almost 16 years, and it was time to move out of there. And here I am, this is almost 46 years later now. The city of Beacon is growing big time. Within the next 6 months, they're expecting an additional 1,200 families to move to the area, in addition to Beacon becoming a focal point in the Hudson Valley. The DM Museum is situated here. That brings in tourists from all over the world, coupled with the galleries and the restaurants and the music scene that has been created in this town. Since I've arrived in Beacon, I've discovered a wealth of talent, all based in this immediate area.
Well, I gotta say Mark Amma is one of my influences. When I was younger, we had a situation we were in, the Nasty Habits. I was in the band Demanufacture, did Album of the Year, 2007, Hard Rock Music Awards. Flywheel, also they were an off band from a band called Pound. We were on EMI, and basically now just a couple cover bands, just passing the time.
When I was a kid, my father and mother took me to a parade, and it was in Poughkeepsie, New York, and there was a drum corps. They were called the Pacers, and they had red sparkling drums, and I remember seeing those drums, and I thought they were like the coolest. I loved them. I just loved the way they looked, you know. And from there, you know, I had a real interest in it, you know. I was just a kid. And I had a cousin, my cousin Ray, who was 10 years older than me. He had a set of Slingerland drums in his basement from like the 50s. And he was a jazz drummer. And he was like my real first influence. I cut my teeth basically in going to jazz clubs, learning and watching guys, and it was just a great, great time. And I'd like to see more of that happen. That's my hopes, and you know, more live music, you know, because I kind of miss it all.
Looking back on my childhood, lots of things I would change if I only could. I'm Leo Berthiaume, and I grew up in Beacon, New York. I was born in Cold Spring, New York, which is just south of Beacon. And I'm a Hudson Valley guy, and it's the best place to be on the planet and the best place to grow up anywhere. Stronger, happy with all they've earned. 'Cause there's a place to avoid, I am told. Place that's darker than cold. Purgatory Road. I actually grew up with a love of music from the time I could talk. I think I picked up the guitar finally when I was about maybe 15 years old, when, like a lot of people, got inspired by the Beatles. And at first, I thought the Beatles were kind of lame. They were doing all this poppy stuff, and like many of us also, saw these girls chasing them. Immediately had to grow my hair and get a guitar. Now when I'm older, I'm seeing things clear, thinking I've squandered my time, living both separate lives, life that's defiant, could have been womankind.
When I purchased my first PA, that was really the start of it, and I didn't know anything back then. Studied a lot, read a lot of books, and people find out you have a PA, and they say, "Oh, hey, can you do sound for me here? Can you do sound for me here?" And that's really was the start of it, you know. And that was back '78, and 4 years later started the sound company. How I got started with the Chance Theater, I started renting through, I've been actually through 3 owners up there, renting both PA equipment and onstage monitor equipment. And currently, with the current owner, Frank Pallett, I currently rent the monitor system and take care of all the entire audio system. Over the years, I worked with Warren Zevon, Vince Neil, Twisted Sister, Typo Negative, Marilyn Manson, from one end of the spectrum to the other. Countless list of artists I've had the pleasure to work with.
In music class, as you can remember, you'd all sit. The teacher had a stand-up piano. She would teach music. She brings in a drummer by the name of Charlie Shabesta. Ring a bell from back in the day? Puts on Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and plays. He would just come out of a recording session in the city, and he asked anyone want to come up and play? And all the guys that are in the band or the musical class in school threw their hands up, went up and played. And I put my hand up like an idiot. Never played a drum in my life, and sat behind a drum set, and well, for once in my life, I outdid the rest of those guys. And he kept me after class and asked me how long you've been playing, and I said, I'd never played, this was it. And he's like, you're kidding me. I said, no, I used to watch my Uncle Joe, and they happened to know each other, and 2 days later, my uncle drove from Saugerties, New York with a little homemade wooden, the rubber pads you used to do on, and well, that was it.
I do remember that the first time I ever sat on a drum set, I was probably 12. I could play a beat. I had independence, I had coordination, hi-hat, snare, kick, but then I didn't do anything for 10 years. It wasn't until my early 20s, which is really late to get serious about this, I got serious, and then I ended up playing in a lot of bands, toured Europe, had records out, and this is all about passion. It's not about anything other than that.
Advice for some young performers, it's tough. It's, you don't just learn the instrument that you play. Learn the business side of it and have some other skills, because music can't pay all the bills. It just can't unless you're some of the select few. So, go out and learn as much as you can, but once again, you got to follow your heart. If
you can do something else for a living, do it. If this is the only thing that makes you happy, then play the drums or be a musician.
You got to be devoted. You got to have a lot of time. You got to start young. If you don't have those three, you're not going to make it.
Make yourself very hard to replace. I'd say it comes with hard work, but all of us, you ask anybody here, it didn't feel like work at the time because you were just so excited to do it, and you put the time in and not realizing that it was work. But as a drummer, I know how to run a board now. I know how to mix. Again, you are familiar with singing. It just if you're a total package person, it's tough to replace you.
Always keep learning. Always keep learning. Stay humble. There's always someone better than you out there. Keep learning the drums. Keep learning the business. Keep learning how to deal with everybody, and just keep yourself on top. Keep yourself on top.
If I had my druthers, I'd study piano. Because when you play piano, it's percussive, it's melodic, there's harmony. The whole gamut of music is in the piano, and it really will help you in drums.
Be prepared, because there's going to be opportunities, there's going to be chances, there's going to be auditions, and you want to be more prepared than you have to be. It'll always impress people.
I would say play music because you like it. That's really why I started playing. I was never worried about making money at it or being a star or famous. I think that's really, and if you do that and you really love it, there's nothing else you think you can do, you stick with it. I think you can, make something of it. It's hard, but I would just say if you love it, man, and you know what you want to do it. Why not?
To really succeed, you really need to know the business, and I explain that to a lot of young musicians too. I tell them, love the love of music and don't let it get away from you, because that's really what it's all about. Don't get caught up in the business of it, but you should know your business, because if you want to make a career out of it, especially today, it's such a fast-paced business, but you can't lose the integrity of what you are and what you do, because if you do that, you're just another click.
Keep your craft with you at all times, even no matter what you're doing. Just stay with it and keep it in your life, no matter any way you can, no matter how busy you get with your job and your life, whatever life throws at you. And I think it's just something you were given as a gift, and you should embrace it.
It's always great to be able to multitask. Not even musically. Just life skills. Changing a tire, whatever. Things like that. Doing your own laundry, just being able to take care of yourself.
Follow it to your extremes. Don't fall, shy of the gig, if you will. Because it's bigger picture than just playing the drums. Stay focused on what you really want to do, and if you fall in love with it, stay with it.
I find myself falling out of the pocket many times, and I go back to what Mark would tell me, what my uncle would tell me. Simple is easier, simple is better. And Gene Simmons said it, keep it simple, stupid. With all due respect.
You have to stick with it, learn the tricks, learn the proper mic placement, and so on and so forth. A lot of critical things that will make your job a lot easier as an engineer.
When you get up on stage, half the battle is getting up on stage. The people that maybe make fun of you or bust your chops, it's because they wish they were on that stage. And whether you do something or not, you got up on that stage. That takes a tremendous amount of courage.
Don't give up. Keep putting your nose to the grindstone.
You know, if it doesn't work out for you the first time, keep sitting in your basement and practicing. That's what I did. I practiced for years and years. I drove my mother nuts playing those drums in the basement all those years.
Pursue your music seriously. Don't pave the way for disappointment, because it's more difficult today than it's ever been. However, if your music gains traction, run with it.
What would I say to young people? You have to love it, because there are trials and tribulations in the whole music industry, and if you don't have that internal passion, it's not going to last. So to make a full-time commitment, you really have to love it. It's got to be in your heart, and you have to be serious and dedicated.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your sacrifice. How hard it must be. Wake up in the morning, don't know what's in store for you. Is it bloodshed or tears? Fighting for your freedom, fighting for your life. Thank you. I just wanna thank you for what you've done for me. Thank you. I just wanna let you know how much it means to me. Riding home from far away, wishing you had been so close. Today might be the last day. I hope to God that we come home, fighting for your freedom, fighting for your life. Thank you. I just wanna thank you for what you've done for me. Thank you. I just wanna